My name is Kimani Shongwa.
Order, members.
Mine to begin with, if is not a question, is to challenge the Chair Education Committee and members of the Education Committee. Members, if I can have your attention, because it is very easy to make political statements. And what Honorable Meli is making here is a political statement on distribution of infrastructure funds. And I have a very good reason. Kikuyu constituency has 38 public secondary schools. Langata constituency, where Honorable Jalango comes from, has 4 secondary schools. Only. Kathiani has probably 62 schools. You are making a political statement telling us that that money should go to CDF and be shared equally. That is not leadership, that is politics. Because it is up to the ministry to allocate funds equitably and fairly. The burden of infrastructure funds lies squarely within the Committee in Parliament of Education. That is where inequity comes in. Let us just be honest with each other. And the minister has been clear, the deficit that is there in the ministry. Again, it is this house that appropriates money. You told us, minister, you have a deficit of 42 billion. 48 billion. I wanted you to clarify and disabuse the notion, because there are some people who are telling us that if you took all the money from NGCDF, it would sort out the problems in the Ministry of Education. If on average I take 30 million shillings from 290 constituencies, that is only 8.7 billion shillings. Does it solve your problem? And that is what CS, you should be telling this house, that it is up to the Committee on Education and the Budget Committee to make sure that you have adequate funds, then make sure there is equitable distribution. The Chair Education cannot be telling us that if you take that money to NGCDF, we will solve the problem. I do not need infrastructure money in my constituency. But Honorable Soro here with 78 schools needs more money than me. So you will give him money that I will not need. That's why I said you are making a political statement. To my question, CS, uniform and lunch programs. That is a bedrock of corruption in your schools. And another thing you call desks and lockers. We provide desks through NGCDF. Last week I went to a school in my constituency that has only 189 students. That school has 28 teachers. I had given them 150 desks through NGCDF a year ago. They were asking me for another 50 desks. And I told them I will not give you unless you show me a grade 9 student who went home with a desk. The desks are lumped up in a store somewhere. You give those teachers money for maintenance. They don't use that money and nobody takes note of it. You do not have school inspectors who are doing anything on the ground. It is these members of parliament who have become school inspectors, and you should not subject members of parliament to become school inspectors. The same rationalization you're talking about with TSC. Let me tell you, CS, there is no rationalization that is going on. And I've heard you say in your PS that it is likely some day schools are going to close because of the challenge you have said of the next 3 years after Form 3 and Form 4 clear. The next 3 years after Form 3 and Form 4 clear, those schools will close. And that rationalization, you must make it a reality. TSC is not doing what they ought to be doing in terms of rationalization of teachers. Teachers harass these MPs left, right, and center because every teacher in this country wants to go back to their village to teach in their village. We must decide as a country whether we want to make politics out of education and make everybody happy, or do the right thing for our children. Because why would a school with 100 students have 28 teachers, and the school next door has 600 students without teachers, and you have a county director of education in that sub-county? Those are the issues, yes. Because yourself and your PS, you have the most clueless PS in the Ministry of Education. Most clueless. He only sits in Nairobi and has no idea what goes on the ground. Get out of your offices in Nairobi, go to the ground, deal with the problems there. Then challenge this house, then to get the 48 billion shillings for you from the budget, and we'll deal with the problem once and for all. Otherwise, what we are doing here now is dancing around issues.
Thank you.
You have danced around the issue of uniform and the circular for school fees. We cannot legislate on school fees. We cannot. You cannot put school fees in a statute. What you should do is tomorrow, CS, you have the powers as a cabinet secretary to gazette. Go and gazette the school fees that ought to be there. When you bring the basic education amendment, we will now be referring to the CS gazetting. But we cannot put school fees in a law. The same thing with uniform and lunch programs. I told you that is a bedrock of corruption in schools. Where some schools, I see some schools, and I'm referring to my own constituency, and these members will tell you it is the same in their constituencies. You will go and find a school that charges 3,000 for a lunch program. You will find another one charging 8,000, 9,000. And they're in the same locality. Yeah? Under your ministry, you have the school feeding program. Why don't you get the resources from the school feeding program to ensure there is food in the schools, and also gazette the maximum amount that should be charged in a school for the lunch program? You have no reason for a grade 6 student in Kikuyu Township Primary School to be wearing a uniform like the one I'm wearing, then because they are moving to grade 7 to go and change uniform. What happens in other civilized countries is that people just put on a different tie or a badge on your chest that will cost you 5 or 10 shillings. Why are we subjecting teachers to changing uniform, feeding the corruption cartels by teachers and head teachers in our schools with the cartels that are producing uniform? And that is why, CS, it took none other than the president to intervene on the matter of school uniform. You should not subject the president to be the one to be intervening on school uniform. It is you and your peers who should be doing that.
Number 2.
Thank you.
Order.
Thank you.
I gave your leader a latitude to make that positive remark. The rest, one question or one comment each. Remember, go ahead.
The CS appearing before the Committee of Education in a meeting that I was lucky to attend last year did promise that he will give the list of the schools that had benefited from infrastructure in the following week. Honorable Speaker, the CS appearing in Parliament when we did call him over the issue of capitation in schools did indicate further that he'll give that list the following week. Today, the CS has gone ahead to indicate that he's going to give the list. Honorable Speaker, I'm seeing a consistent gap of avoiding to give the list to the honorable members. Honorable Speaker, the CS says he does not know the amount required to educate a child from the lower grades to the senior grades, and is doing nothing about it, and is mixing that cost of education for one child with the funding that comes from CDF, donors, and other people. I would wish the CS goes back there, because even the Mwirial led commission that is talking about, which brought out 15,000, must be in his office, and the PS is having the details of how 15 was arrived to and 14 was arrived to.
What is your question? You're
My
making a
question
speech.
is,
Yes.
back to what one honorable said, what is the cost of educating a child? So that Parliament can budget, so that the executive can budget. Thank you. That's a
Number
question
3.
that he can never run away from.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker and Waziri. My question is, of course, our majority leader has covered the better part of what I had in mind, but as the Waziri gazettes, I would want him to be clear on the fees for the day schools and what percentage the ministry is putting in. Again, the other thing is we have a huge number of girls dropping out as a result of teenage pregnancy. It has now moved to 15%. That is becoming a real hindrance to girl child. Can the minister tell us what they have in place?
Number 4.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Now, when there was a change of policy of placing grade 9 in junior school instead of senior school, there was a discrepancy in planning because a lot of work had been done in senior schools. The result is now we have empty classes in senior school and there are no classes for grade 9 in junior schools where they are. Has the ministry done serious survey and harmonization to find out which schools have empty classes and which primary junior schools need classes for grade 9? And in circumstances where the schools are close together, is it possible to use the empty classes in senior schools by grade 9 in junior schools? Thank you.
Next.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to ask this House to go back to the day you saw
Who is the
Honorable
member?
Harold Kipchumba Kimoge.
Okay.
I want us to go back to the day we saw a child returned back from Lenana school. Let's think about it. Waziri, what steps is the ministry taking to facilitate the full participation of learners with different abilities in academic and non-academic in academic and non-academic programs, having in mind that we have many children with neurodivergency. Unlike my time when I was in school, majority of us were just physically handicapped. What happens to the children that have autism, that have intellectual disorders? As you cluster, where do you cluster that group of children? Thank you.
Next.
Mheshimiwa Spika, niruhusu nimuulize waziri.
Is it Mbeyo or Madenge? Both of you are up.
It's me.
Then Mbeyo, then come to Madenge. What
Speaker.
was your number?
Number 10.
It matters. We are on number 6. Who was number 6?
Number 6.
Madenge. Madenge, you are rigging. I'm told it's Mbeyu, then Omar, then Katana, then Orero, then Wambilianga, then Kogoyo.
Mr. Speaker, they had her call me out.
Jina yako haiko, si ukae.
Madenge, I'll give you the next slot, on the next round. Mbeyu, ask your question.
Mheshimiwa Spika, niruhusu niulize waziri Migosi swali hili na maelezo kamili. Mheshimiwa Spika, waziri ameruhusu shule za mabweni, walimu wakuu kufungua maduka ya jumla katika shule zao wakati huu wa watoto wa grade 10 kwenda shule. Nitaeleza Mheshimiwa Spika, ada za shule, fees ziko juu. Zile vitu tunanunua kama wazazi, watoto waende hizi shule za mabweni, zinagharimu zaidi ya 50,000. Mbali na ile ada ya 22,884 ya muhula wa kwanza. Mheshimiwa Spika, walimu hawa wakuu wameweka vitu, mattresses, bedsheet, ndoo zinanunuliwa pale shule kwa gharama ya juu. Tumechoka waziri. Walimu wako wakuu wamefanya biashara kubwa sana wakati huu watoto hawa wa grade 10 kwenda kuripoti shule. Tunataka life audit ya walimu wakuu. Walimu wako wakuu, mijengo mingi inafadhiliwa na wabunge hawa na pesa za NGCDF. Mheshimiwa Spika, utapata katika zile ada zao za kulipa shule kuna pesa za ziada kulipia mijengo. Niko na shule moja kule Kilifi. Mtoto maskini, hana baba hana mama. Nimemchukua, nimelipa hii ada yote 22,884. Nimefanya shopping yote ya nje na ndani ya shule zaidi ya 50,000. Nimewekewa deni ya 12,000 kuna kulipia dining hall, conference hall. Swali ni kuwa kwa nini ameruhusu walimu kufanya biashara kwa watoto maskini, wazazi maskini wa Kenya? Asante Mheshimiwa Speaker.
Omar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mine is to crown what my colleagues have been talking about. And this is about uniform and the certificates which the principals are refusing to give to the students after a government directive. So when we leave this place, Mr. Speaker, we want these two issues to be resolved today, and henceforth there should be no such cries again. Second, it's about the fair distribution of resources.
Omar Mwenyi.
No.
When you start saying second, you are violating my direction.
Okay. One, I'm now beginning. One. Mr. Speaker, we would like, when you leave this place, to be assured that when we open Parliament, the list of how the funds for the infrastructure have been distributed nationally for the last 10 years, we want to be guaranteed that that list will be in the House before we open this session.
Thanks. Next.
The last one, Mr. Speaker, is about the pork barrel issue, if you can remember. There was a budget committee of Parliament which brought about pork barrel, and it was seen to be something that was bad, and that committee was dissolved. Hearing what members are talking about here, it appears that the Committee on Education has failed us, and we need a complete overhaul so that we can begin a new chapter, Mr. Speaker. I want members here to say aye if you're supporting me. Who are supporting?
Order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Order, Omar. You have no capacity to put the question. Orero.
Katana.
Orero.
Yes, thank you, Speaker.
I'm number 8, Speaker. Katana.
Is Katana, sorry, yes. Katana
yes.
first.
Asante, Bwana Speaker. Waziri, wazazi wanagharamika kulipa karo za shule. Na sisi kama wabunge pia tunasukuma kulipa karo za shule. Lakini kuna hili janamizi linaitwa remedial fees. Watoto wanafukuzwa kila uchao. Mzazi amelipa karo yote ya shule, lakini mwalimu mkuu na wale wanaohusika pale shule wanafukuza watoto kila uchao, warudi nyumbani hawasomi. Unatarajia vipi hawa watoto wapite mitihani yao? Tunataka kauli yako kama waziri na wizara. Je, mumehalalisha haya mambo ya remedial ama ni nini? Tunataka kujua kuanzia leo kama hiyo remedial is part of the school fees ama sivyo. Asante sana Bwana Speaker.
Orero.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is sad that the CS can come to these honorable members and lie that the ministry disburses 22,204 as a capitation to schools. I would want the CS to tell this house, when was the last time the ministry disbursed 22,000 shillings to any school in this country? And when the capitations of this year came to schools, were they to pay the debts for last year or for this term? And how much was to pay the debts for last year, and how much is for this term? And what is remaining for this term? Thank you.
Wabilianga.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question goes to the CS on JSS and the schools and the operation. The JSS are teachers who teach in the lower secondary, but they are best in the primary. Is it possible for the ministry to develop a distinct plan for the running of these JSS teachers for sports and co-curricular activities where they can manage themselves and be in control? It is very clear that running some of these sports, especially at primary level, there's a challenge for these teachers. And basically, again, the learning activities require special facilities that are lacking in some of these primary schools. That is the JSS. They lack laboratories, technology, computers, and even some of the teachers are lacking. Is it possible that the ministry does something so that the teachers in this lower cadre have their own autonomous, they are autonomous in running their activities? Thank you so much.
Kangoko, is it Kangoko?
Yes, yes, Honorable Speaker. My question to the Honorable Cabinet Secretary is about the security of the teachers, Honorable Speaker, especially our teachers who are in the northern Kenya. Mr. Speaker, in the recent past, we have lost so many teachers in the northern Kenya. Mr. Speaker, last week, we also lost a teacher. And Mr. Speaker, as we speak, there are so many teachers who have expressed a fear of their lives in the northern Kenya. What is the ministry doing to make sure that the lives of those teachers are safe? Because, Mr. Speaker, in our constitution, the right of life comes first before even the right of education. And then, Mr.
Thank
Speaker,
you. It's not called the right of life, it's called the right to life.
to life, exactly, Mr. Speaker. And the last, Honorable CS, what is the role of sponsors in schools? Because the so-called sponsors, the charges, Mr. Speaker, they have held the schools on ransom in the name of sponsorship, and they are not providing anything to those schools.
Thank you. Madenge, I'll give you the bonus on this cohort.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. CS, when you presented the placement of our candidates in the 4 clusters, C1 took only 10% of the Kenyan children, admitted 10%. C2, 23%. C3, 31%. C4, which are our day schools, took the largest chunk, over 1/3, 36%. But when we go to the performance at the Kenya Secondary Certificate of Secondary Education, the grades emanating from the C4 schools only confer
these students to either recruitment to NYS, the police, KDF, and the vocational training centers. CS, in your layout for infrastructure support and capacity building, we need to see emphasis. What is the emphasis that the ministry is doing to support the majority of the Kenyan children who are studying, who the ministry is confining to studying in the C4 schools? If Kenya has to move to Singapore, it is this cluster that holds the power to take Kenya to that level. We cannot afford to have the ministry neglecting 1/3 of the Kenyan children and confining them to, a future without a hope. What is the ministry doing?
Waziri, take the podium. Who is the honorable member there? Just hold, we'll go to the last round after this.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Kimani Chungwa's observation is actually correct, that we have a deficit of 48 billion, and I'll combine that deficit to the question of Honorable Orero asking whether we've ever disbursed 22,000 shillings to schools. What I indicated is that the policy of government is that capitation for senior schools should be at 22,244. But what we receive as an allocation has a deficit, so that when we are disbursing what we have received, it does not reach 22,244. So there is a discrepancy between the policy and what we are allocated. And so it is up to this House to provide that balance of 48 billion for us to be able to release the actual amount that is stipulated in the policy. Every year, the ministry requests for these figures, but the allocation is normally not given as at the rate requested, and I showed that table in that position. The ministry's policy on uniforms and lunch and remedial levies, all these remedial levies, issues relating to holding certificates, these are issues that are irregular and are illegal. And it is also true that the Basic Education Act does not have a penalty for these irregular activities, so that it is dependent on administrative action by the TSC. Now the structure of the ministry and TSC is such that TSC is an independent commission, and the teachers and discipline cases of the teachers falls under the TSC. So we recommend that this particular issue is harmonized, because we are doing the amendments to these two acts. When it comes to you, please look at it and harmonize. And what we are suggesting, because administration or inspection is administrative, but if we criminalize these activities, we gazette, which we are doing, that the remedial levies and these other levies are irregular and illegal, then we criminalize it in the act. It will become easier for us to enforce. So we have a multiplicity of issues that need to be aligned, and this is going to be aligned when we present the bills to you to look at. On terms of
yes, who is that? Taitumu, what's your point of order? Give Honorable Taitumu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, the minister is trying to disinform this house about the policies and what the TSA is supposed to do. These policies that we are talking about, who is supposed to enforce? We have principals sending students back if they get uniform from the shops and other selling entities. Who is supposed to enforce the policies that are there for the ministry? It is the TSC or it is you? Because, Mr. Speaker, the CS is misinforming the house from the very outset. Earlier on, he said that they cannot compute the actual amount needed to educate our learner in our systems because members of parliament are providing bursaries. Counties are providing bursaries. We don't provide the bursaries. We try to cushion the learners from the vagaries of the excesses that there are. So we provide within the premise of what is given as school fees. So we don't give anyhow that we provide the money. So, Mr. Speaker, let the CS tell us who is supposed to enforce the regulations and what happens and how many have been punished by violating those policies so far.
It was not a point of order, it's a disguise to ask a question. Go on. Order, let him answer the questions you have asked. We'll come to another round. Katana, take your seat. Go on, Minister.
Honorable Naomi Wako's question on the gazettement of the fees on day schools. That gazette, as I indicated, has already been prepared.
Katana, kuna shida gani?
Asante Bwana Speaker.
Order, Katana, you asked about the legitimacy of remedial fees.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So I've refreshed it for you. Sit down.
Bwana Speaker, tafadhali niruhusu niweze kukariri hili. Vile waziri amekubali kwamba remedial na ununuaji wa uniformu katika shule ni haramu. Tunataka tuambie hapa ni hatua gani ambazo anachukua, kwa sababu mpaka leo wazazi bado wanaumia na watoto wanaregeshwa nyumbani. Atuambie kabla hajatoka pale alipo.
Waziri, waambie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. When, as I have indicated, ladies and gentlemen and honorable members, the ministry has passed a policy, and the policy has been disseminated to the principals, that they are not, one, supposed to send children home even for food, where parents have
Waziri,
not been able to.
You will help order. You will help this house a lot more. You know, you can have a policy which nobody is enforcing. You have a policy which nobody respects. You have a policy which nobody is implementing. You remember what you are asked by, I think, the majority leader and somebody else. Do you have a presence of your ministry in every part of the country ensuring that the policies you are talking about are actually applicable and working? I think that is the big question. Because you can have a policy in Nairobi and your education officer in Vihiga is busy in bed with teachers to make money.
We have officers on the ground who are supposed, the quality control officers in the, yes, let me finish. So these officers are supposed to enforce the policies of the ministry. So that is why, ladies and
Waziri,
gentlemen,
let me help you.
Yes.
You know, when you tell members of parliament that you have officers on the ground, they are supposed to enforce your policies, it means they are not enforcing. It will be helpful to tell these members that you are going to ensure that your officers on the ground enforce the directives and policies from the ministry. Then things will work better.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for that assistance. Let me confirm that we are going to ensure that our officers on the ground enforce the directives of the ministry. We are also making, and let me put it this way, we are also doing the amendment to the Basic Education Act, which is coming to you. And our suggestion is that we criminalize failure by the officers to enforce the policies and regulations of the ministry. So, Honorable Wako's question, as I said, we'll be gazetting the school fees this Friday. The gazette notice has already been prepared. And yes, for day but the gazette notice combines everything, including the day secondary schools. So that gazette notice is coming out. Dr. Nikal's question on grade 9 classroom, as I indicated earlier, an assessment was done, and the classrooms for grade 9 that were required were 23,000, and that has been done. So that problem of grade 9 transitioning from grade 8 in junior schools has been sorted out. And as I've indicated, the transition to grade 10 has taken place, and the exit report will be able to indicate to us which classrooms are remaining so that we can make a decision after working with the public and all of us on how we are going to handle the empty spaces and what we are going to do about the students or about those schools. The question on Lenana School, Bwana Scoot, I'd like you to respond to that question on Lenana School and what we are doing to ensure that our other children able differently also do not miss school. Yes.
Are you done?
Scoot is answering that question on the measures that are in place to ensure that our students able differently are in school. The Honorable Kipchumba's
Thank
question.
you, CS. With regard to Lenana School.
Tell us who you are first.
Yeah, my name is Sugut William, Head of Senior School Education.
What name?
Sugut William.
William. Go
Yes.
ahead, William.
With regard to Lenana School is in an integrated school. That means it handles regular children and special needs children, particularly in those that are physically impaired. And what we have seen this year is an upsurge of the numbers of children in special needs. And so we are supporting the school to enhance the capacity.
You are not answering the question that was asked. Lenana was used as an example.
Yes, sir.
But you are asked, what is the ministry doing to accommodate children with special needs across the country?
Okay.
It was not about expanding facilities in Lenana. Isn't that what Kipchumba asked? Yes.
Yes.
That we have children with autism, physical incapacity, some with partial mental incapacity, and so on. Yes. Lenana may be an example school. What policy do you have to accommodate such children across the country? That was the question.
Thank you, Speaker. Sir, what has happened is that we have a total of 37 special needs schools that we have dedicated to handle all the array of special needs issues, from visually impaired, hearing impaired, to physically impaired. The ministry also gives an enhanced capitation for purposes of ensuring that infrastructure in these schools is taken care of. This financial year, for instance, we benefited from the National Treasury by receiving 100 million, which has been shared to those schools. Each of them will get 2.7 million to be able to improve the infrastructure across board. And we will continue then to get the data and be able to support all these special needs schools with the support of KISE and the various agencies of government. Thank you, Speaker.
Go on, Minister.
Honorable Ambeyo's question
Yes,
on opening of...
yes, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Even as he gives that answer, there was a policy change, not only in Kenya, but worldwide, including Kenya, that children with special needs, if they are not too severe, should be integrated in schools, in mainstream schools. So actually, schools like Alliance, like Lenana, Moi Girls Eldred, should be attempting to have a certain quota reserved for those children, because they have to know how to live with normal society. Because one day they'll have to come to the workplace. 4% of the workplace is reserved for people with disabilities. And I think that's where the challenge is. And I think that's how that question was being directed by Mr. Kipchumba, Honorable Kipchumba, right?
So Honorable Ambeya's question, Omar and Katana also dealing with these issues of the extra levies, opening of shops in schools to sell things like uniforms to parents. That's what we've said. It is in the policy, and we're going to ensure that it is enforced. Issues of remedial fees that we've discussed. And also, Honorable Mari asked about us providing the list of the infrastructure funds distributed across the country in the last 10 years. Mr. Sgut, and I can see Hassan there. When are you providing this? You have the data.
So we have the data. We have the data and we can provide immediately.
God.
All right. I have answered the question of disbursement of the 22,000. And the question of whether the funds that we've released this time is supposed to pay for the debts of last year. No, it's not supposed to pay for the debts of last year. It's supposed to be paid for this year. And that is a different conversation that needs to be had, because it's not just last year that we did not give full 22, but also previous years that have indicated is as a result of what we receive. The JS autonomy is a conversation that is still going on to determine how to handle the JS in junior schools of the teachers and the other activities that they are involved with. One of the proposals is that we might have to have a deputy principal in charge of junior school to handle issues relating to the JS teachers and in that space. In terms of the security of our teachers up north, we are working with the Ministry of Interior. In fact, as we speak, there is a team that was dispatched yesterday from the ministry, from TSC, and from Interior, and they are up there trying to find out solutions to ensure that all our teachers are secured in the schools where they are teaching. So that we are working with the Ministry of Interior to support us in that place. The role of sponsors is provided for in the Basic Education Act, and they get involved in a number of activities as stipulated in the Act, but where we discuss and we find that maybe something needs to be changed, we would be able to discuss with them, have stakeholder engagements with them to ensure that there is no conflict in handling matters in those schools. There was a last question.
Of withholding certificates by Mwinyi.
Yes, I did indicate that we are enforcing that provision because it is in the Act, but as I indicated, the weakness is there is no penalty provided for. It is administrative action, but we are working to ensure that that particular provision is enforced. The last...
Who is shouting point of order? Wamchomba, is it a point of order or you want to ask a question? Emase? Emase, what's your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, my point of order is on certificates. Because parents are not being given the certificates. And at some point in another fora, you indicated the possibility of transiting certificates through the district education offices as opposed to the principals. What is the progress on that? Because right now, Honorable Speaker, a parent who has even cleared the fees, when the child goes to pick the certificate so that they can proceed to the university, is being told you lost 24 books. How possible is it that a student lost 24 books? I just had a call today. A student is claimed to have lost 24 books. And to pay remedial, 50,000. I mean, this is bullshit. What is the progress?
That is wrong language. Withdraw that.
I withdraw, Honorable Speaker.
Yes.
But we feel it on behalf of the parents. Because this is a conduit of corruption. And it must be dealt with.
Waziri, sit down, Omongina.
The question of certificates, as I've indicated, has been a thorn, and we are doing everything possible to ensure that the enforcement of that provision is done, because it is illegal under the Act for any principal to withhold a certificate belonging to a student. The question of Honorable Madenge on the 36% of KCSE, it is true that from the KCSE, a number of the students who are in C4 did not get good grades. But this particular system is slightly different from Form 4, because this one is not dependent on the exam alone. So we anticipate that going forward, the support we'll give to these schools, including ensuring that the infrastructure sent to these schools is across the board, because now things like sports is not a co-curricular, but it is mainstream. So the resources will be going to these schools to ensure that the facilities are in place, and because it is a competency-based, we anticipate that that number of children not doing too well from C4 will go down. Thank you.
Honorable members, Honorable members, we have the next CS Duale waiting. Do we get him in or we take another round? Okay. Do we take him in or we take another round? Okay. Take your seats. Let me see the hands. Wanjala, you'll be number 1. Mbeyu, you are in the last cohort, so I can't give you now. Let's be fair to others. Nicholas, number 2. Wamaua, number 3. Ambassador Sigei, number 4. Wamshomba, number 5. Even if you wave your hand and you are not in the radar, I will not give you. We have reached number 5. Huko nyuma kuna nani? The member in a white shirt, I can't see you properly. Ni nani? Maungu, number 6. Atandi, number 7.